ready. Let's get this set up. I think we are officially live. Let's get this verified. Yep, we are. Perfect. All right, let's get the tweet sent out first, and then we'll get started. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, UTSA versus UAB, huge game coming up. I decided to do this preview live. I think one of the things I'll share this with you guys as you guys who've come back and are supporting the channel and who have subscribed. I wanted to get to that 500 subscriber count because I wanted to do this. I wanted to do these live. I wanted to have more engagement and interaction while we're doing these live shows because ultimately it's you guys' show. And the show is only as good as the content that you guys want. So I wanted to make sure I had enough people that was watching and participating in some of the chat stuff before we started to do these live. And I don't expect a ton today because this is kind of short notice. I plan to do this next week, but I was like, why not? Let's get it kicked off today. So anyway, wanted to change to this format just to give you guys a better products, to be frank. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I don't expect a ton to be going on this particular show, but we're going to roll with it, and it'll be better as we pick it up. So there's a lot to discuss with UAB and UTSA, and I am ready to jump into that. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the question that I like to answer every time we look at one of the previews, and I do one of the preview shows, is what is UTSA up against? What does UAB bring to the table that we're going to have to worry about? What things are going on with that team that we can exploit, that we can take advantage of? And after doing a little bit of tape study over the last couple of days and just kind of following what they've been up to, I have a few things that I think that's really important. So I'll start with the things that I think that UTSA is going to have to really be wary of if they want to control the game and win the game against UAB. I think the one thing you got to worry about is I personally like what they have at running back. I think they have running backs that can really damage UTSA if we do not clean up some of the mistakes that we've been making over the last couple of games. Teams have had success running against us. Teams have had success, honestly, doing whatever the hell they want to with us recently because we haven't been able to stop anything and anybody. And they can punish you for that. Also, their passing game is not bad as well. If you look at where they are from a passing standpoint, they're 16th from a passing standpoint in the FBS. So that's something that we have to be careful about. They're averaging over 300 yards per game through the air, and it's a problem. It's a problem that we have not been able to solve because we haven't been able to stop anybody through the air. Think about what Temple did to us last week. They took advantage of our secondary in a myriad of ways, in every single fathom of that secondary. They took advantage of the safeties. They took advantage of the corners. And we just have to be better because if we do not clean any of that up, this team will take advantage of it too. Now, one of the things just from some of the film I've watched on this particular team, they like to get guys in space. So they don't have the traditional passing game, whereas they do in a sense, but I don't think they're as good as just straight drop back and passing. They have a quarterback in Jacob Zeno. I think his first name is Jacob, but I know his last name is Zeno. He is good at extending plays. He is sometimes late on some of his throws, which is why I'm kind of alluding to the fact that they're not super, you know what? I won't even say that because it'll probably jinx UTSA, but I am not that worried about the straight drop back and pass. But what I'm worried about is how the drop back and pass is set up. And that's obviously about a run game. But one of the things that they also do is they're really good with screenplays. They really like to get a lot of their guys out in space. Their running backs out the backfield, they like to throw all types of screens to them. They like to do, wide receiver screens and things like that. They like to get these guys the ball so they can make moves after the catch and utilize their speeds on the outside, which they do have some speed. And some of those guys are really shifty in the pocket. So, their elusivity has allowed them to make plays that would be 10 yards and turn them into 20-yard gainers and sometimes even touchdowns. And I think that's something that UTSA has to definitely be wary of and have to really focus on tackling. These guys can make you miss. If you go back and look at some of the moves that Jermaine Brown, which is a running back for them, who's been having a pretty good season, but look at some of the things he did against who did they just play? Tulane. No, I'm sorry, South Florida. Look at what he did against South Florida. There's a couple of plays where he was one-on-one with the safety in the box or linebacker in the box, and, he juked them out of their shoes, 100%. So we just have to actually put hats on people, and considering that we haven't done a very good job of doing that recently in the last few games, I am worried about that 1,000%. So do I think they have one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen? No, I don't think so. But what I will say is they do have enough talent and enough good play calling and just enough weaponry on offense that if we do not clear up some of the defensive deficiencies that we've had over the last few games, if we do not clean these up, they will definitely score in the high 30s against us, especially if a Temple team can. So I am going to hope that UTSA is cleaning up some of those defensive issues. I'd like to see new folks get introduced into the fold and give some of those guys a chance. And even if you don't stick with those guys, just to create competition, just to really get guys in there vying for playing time and appreciating their role and building hunger and making sure they're hungry throughout. So I think that's just, those are things we have to be worried about. I think one of the things also that you have to look at too is when I look at their receiving core, I don't see anything that pops out that, these guys are just super great. They do have guys that can make some spectacular catches. Just go back and look at some of the highlights. You'll see some of those. But as I said before, the quarterback is not the best at just straight up drop back passing if they have not set you up already with the running game and some of the stuff in the screen game and stuff like that. So I say that to say that if we can stop the run and we can limit some of the big plays that they have with screens, they like to do reverses. They like to do end arounds. They like to do jet sweeps. They do run. They run quite a bit out of the pistol as well. If we can minimize some of the little, I hope you guys. There's just people all behind my backyard just riding dirt bikes. So excuse that if you heard it. But anyway, if we can minimize their yardage on some of these plays where, they're just trying to get people into space and force them into straight up drop back situations, for example, getting them in third and long, we have to win first and second down. We're going to have to win those downs. If we can get them into third and longs and force that quarterback to drop back and just, stand in the pocket and try to beat us that way, I think that gives us the best chance defensively. But it always will come down to how we're going to execute on defense. We did well against the couple spread teams that we played in the very beginning of the season. We have not shown that ability to do any of that at all since. So if we can turn back into that defense, we should, be in a very good position to win a game. But if not, it'll be problematic. Looking at their defenses, I flip to the other side of the ball and I look at what they're offering on defense. I think right now that's, I'm sorry, did I press something? Of course I did. Sorry. But anyway, whenever I go back to their defense and I look at what they're bringing on that side of the ball, I'll be honest, I honestly think that we should beat them up pretty bad. Our offense should beat them up pretty bad. We should score. I hate saying these things because it always turns around and bites me in the ass, but we should put up 40 plus on this defense that they have. They're not very good on. They're not very good at stopping the run. They're not very good at stopping the pass. I can tell you now from when you look at what Frank Harris and the form he returned to against Temple, and I'm not saying Temple had a bad defense as well, but sometimes momentum can get a player like a Frank Harris hot, and all he needs is one game to put it all together, and then the huge run of consistency starts. So I think against Temple, we got some of that, and I think that he has an opportunity to really build upon excellent performance in Temple and carry that into UAB. They don't do very good at stopping anybody. If you look at some of the rushing yards they allow per game, let's see, not rushing yards per game. Let's see. I'm looking at some of their stats here. Yeah, their defense is a bottom 25 unit in terms of scoring. So they give up basically 36 points per game right now, which ranks 7th worst in the FBS. That's awful. So what I wanted to say before is we should hang 50 on this team. We literally should hang 50 on this team based on what other teams have been able to do to them, to be completely honest. I don't know if we will, but does our offense have an opportunity to go out there and put up 40 plus points? Absolutely. And I think they will. To be honest. Even with some of the disappointing stuff, like, for example, I think Traylor was having some conversations with the media about JT Clark. And the update there is that I think he's like day-to-day at game time decision, but now they're considering redshirting him and bringing him back next year, which is unfortunate for us this year. But you know what? If that's the best move for him, I think he's a talent that if punting on this season to preserve his chances at the next level so he can come back and play healthy, I think that's the right move. And on a positive note, we did see some other guys step up last week. And, McEwen stepped up, which was really nice. Obviously, Taki Ogle-Kellogg has been doing well. Joshua Cephas has been consistent. So, offensively, I think that we should dominate this team. It's going to be really interesting to see what our running backs are able to do against their defense. I don't think they defend the run well either. They're also susceptible to quarterbacks scrambling and extending plays and rushing for yardage as well. Even though I hope that we don't have to go that route, I don't want Frank in a lot of these positions to where he's having to run to carry the offense forward. Just because I don't want him getting hurt. That's the thing. Him getting hurt really closes the window, or almost closes the window, for us hanging a banner this season, right? So I hope we don't have to do that, but the defense is susceptible to that if you look at some of the tape. So I don't think they have much for us in terms of stopping us, to be honest. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to be a shootout. If our defense shows up, we should have no problems. But if our defense doesn't show up, yeah, we could be in for a barn burner, to be completely honest. Let's see if we have any questions in the chats. Yeah, my man Mike Muniz says, what is going on with Rocco taking off the depth chart? Coach's reaction when asked seemed to imply it may not be injury related. He seemed like a good dude. Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. Some of these kids get in trouble all the time. I don't know what it is. I don't have any insight on why he was taken off the depth chart. If it's something disciplinary, yeah, you probably won't see him for a while. I think he has a lot of promise. He's shown a lot of talent, I think, but yeah, that's unfortunate if he's off the depth chart. But here's what I'll say, man. Robert Henry and Kevorian Barnes have been excellent. I think they'll be able to carry that running game forward for us to, establish some dominance there. So I'm not worried. Rocco has definitely shown some promise, and it's whatever the situation is with him not being on the depth chart sucks, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's one of those things. It's next man up. That means somebody else is going to get an opportunity probably to come in and contribute, and we'll see what they can bring to the table as well. But I am glad that we have a still two-headed monster that we can rely on from a running standpoint. So unfortunate that he's not going to be in the lineup from what this comment is saying, and you just kind of move on, right? Got to kind of move on. Now this brings me back as my, for the preview, it brings me back to UTSA, and if I'm just looking at what we need to solve ultimately, and I'm still going to continue to drive this home until I see it. We have yet to put a game together that is complete. We have yet to play a good offensive game and a good defensive game. And this does not mean the defense has to pitch a shutout and the offense has to come in and drop 50. Doesn't mean that. But I mean, in general, there are teams, our defense can go out there and play very well, and the other team still may score 28 points. That's possible. Like, 28 is a little high, but you get my point. We don't have to pitch a shutout for our, defense to play well, but we need to force some takeaways. We need to just be more aggressive. And if those teams are making great plays and one-on-one coverage downfield, or if those teams are, just beating some of our guys in just one-on-one engagements on the field, that sucks, and we got to be better. But I want to see a defense that's rallying to the football, that seems excited, that seems like they're going to roll downhill on an offense. I just have not seen that over these last few games from UTSA. I just haven't. We have to fix that problem, because we're not going to be able to hang banners if we can't fix those issues, period. What happens to every single team that we see, just any team you see in general? What normally happens if they're weak on one side of the ball? Well, the side of the ball that they're strong at is eventually going to get weighed down because of the burden that the weaker side is putting upon them. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So and who knows if our offense has gotten it completely together. But I think based on that performance that Frank put forth in our last game, there's no doubt in my mind that, we started to look like the UTSA football team that we have become to expect over the last 2 years. That's what we looked like offensively last week. And I do think we'll be able to build from some of that, because some of these guys who are getting experience are only going to get better, and they're only going to get more comfortable under those lights. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, though, if we keep being leaky and allowing all these points, that's going to put too much pressure on the offense, and they need to be able to make mistakes too. Things aren't ever going to be perfect. We don't need to be in a situation where our offense has to go in and play a perfect game for us to win football games. Because guess what? Those are unreasonable expectations, and it's a team thing. The offense supports the defense supports the offense, special teams supports them both. So, I think that some of this just needs to be preached. A complete game. We just got to have a complete game. It's unfortunate. Mike chimes in and says, I think this game will be a strong indication on how the rest of the season may go. I agree. because I don't look at UAB's record and think, and I said this on the last show. I look at their record and I do think I think it could be a liar if you fall into, oh, they're 2-4. Go look at what they just did against South Florida, man. That team they have ability. They may not be, the best team in the conference, but they do have ability. And we haven't shown anything that to just say that we're better than this team. We're going to walk out, wake up, roll out of bed, and put it on UAB. We haven't showed that yet, right? Like, no matter what my confidence says and what our confidence as a fan base and as supporters of UTSA, no matter what faith we have in these people, you are what you are, right? No matter how many accolades, no matter how many awards that various individual players are on the short list for or on a watch list for, you are what you are at the end of the day. You are what your record states. Well, I'm kind of contradicting by saying all I'm saying is UAB is not as bad as they are. We are not as good as our reputation over the last 2 years have put us up to be. We just aren't that. Our defense is not what it used to be. We had our first explosive offensive game last week. Like I said, until I have true evidence of a complete game, I am cautiously optimistic we'll come in and beat, or UAB will come in and we'll beat them. But, like, am I stone cold in my, dug my heels in this stance of like, yeah, we're going to mull over this team and run this team over? Not at all. I see some of the folks on Twitter have mentioned, things about us coming in and steamrolling this team. And I'm like, and I've seen it both ways, right? Some guys saying, this team's going to whoop us. There are people who are saying that we're going to steamroll them. And I haven't seen anything based on my research that UAB's are going to come in and just stonewall us either. If anything, we're kind of both in the same boats, and the game is probably going to be close. And it's probably going to be a situation where, it might be a situation where we'll figure out, who's going to do what in conference. But I can tell you this, I do see the talent that we have against the talent that they have, especially on the offensive side of the ball, even with missing some of, key players on the team. I think that we can reach levels that other people can't because of some of the talent that we have, some of the individual talent that we have, and we've seen signs of that. But it's not going to do anything if the defense doesn't start showing their talent, because we got a ton of talented guys on defense as well. But for whatever reason, they're not clicking and putting it all together right now. David says, wait, why was Rocco off the depth chart? I'm not sure. Not sure, David. Mike brought it up. I haven't seen any detail on it. Hopefully somebody can get more details on it, or Coach Traylor will give some details on it. But maybe it's disciplinary. Maybe there's some sort of injury of some sort or something like that. I'm not sure. But if there's not injury related, it has to be something disciplinary, and that wouldn't be great. Mike also chimes in and says, one of our goals is to win a bowl game. We need to win these home games to get an opportunity to play in one at the end of the season. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. These home games we have to take very serious, because, going on the road is always going to be difficult, especially against some of the teams that we're up against. Whenever you look down on our schedule, let me pull it up really quick for my own reference point. Yeah, we got to go into North Texas. That's just never going to be an easy game. Not that North Texas is just having a phenomenal season, but they just lost to Navy, I believe, last week. But, like, you know how it is with the rivalry we've had with them. Those games are just unpredictable. We got to go into Tulane at the end of the season, so that's not going to be a hard game. Or, I'm sorry, that's not going to be an easy game. and we got to go into FAU in a week's time, and it's probably not going to be an easy game too. So you're right. We do need to take advantage of that crowd, take advantage of some of the momentum we could really build in that dome, and capitalize on those home victories. What'll be funny is what'll be funny is if we stumble into a bowl game this year, and then that's the one we win. How weird would that be, right? And we've had some crazy seasons and have come up short in the bowl game, and this will be the year that we stumble and then boom, win the bowl game. All right, we got unsure while Rocco was off when coach was asked. He was very vague. Coach says defense can hopefully click with the crowd at the dome. Do you think they can capitalize? Listen, I don't know if they can capitalize. I hope they can, but listen, I will say this. The crowd and the dome, and if it's really rocking, man, it can really just bring the life out of some of these guys. And you know, momentum is a real thing, and I think that we can capitalize on some of that. But, like, it's going to come down to, like, are we going to be in the right positions? What I don't want to see, and I think I forgot to wrap this point earlier. I'm okay if the other team just makes a good play in an individual spot. What I can't take is us just being completely duped and out-schemed, and people are just wide open, and holes that running backs are running through or the size of the Grand Canyon. That's what I can't take, because to me, that's not even the players, right? Like, how is our defense set up in a way to where we're getting duped in those ways? And I'm not saying that individuals on the defense aren't making some of these mistakes, but sometimes it comes out into we're just getting out-schemed. We're just getting out-schemed. Yeah, if I really just wanted to, which I will not, because people will start hating the channel. But there's a lot of bad tape to cut up in some of these games where I don't want to expose more holes in our defense, and I don't want to embarrass some of the guys on defense. But, man, there's some embarrassing mistakes that we've made on defense. Some of them, it's pretty clear that we just had individual brain farts and individual blunders, but some of it is directly, in my opinion anyway, on the coach and the coordinator and what calls we're dialing up in some of these key situations. And you know, those can be questionable. So I don't want to be a negative Nancy with the team, and I don't want to kick the team while we're already kind of struggling. But yeah, defensively, I'm hoping that we can capitalize and click with the crowd at the dome, but am I very, very confident that that's going to happen? Not right now, based on what I've seen from our defense over the last 3 games. So I hope so, though. I hope so. Let's see. Is there any last things that we want to cover? Just looking at all my notes here before we wrap up. Not so much. So yeah, I'll go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you guys for the comments in the chat. I'm also going to plug the Patreon. You can check the link in the description. I definitely want to, one second, my man Mike got one last question. This is the last one. I haven't heard anyone mention this, but can any of our injuries at home this year be attributed to the turf? I wonder how old it is. That's a good one, because there's a huge discussion on some of this in the NFL right now. It very well could be. I've always preferred grass, but like, just because you slip on that turf, man, sometimes you catch some spots of it that are just not great, and it's easy to fall and it's easy to kind of hurt yourself, you know? So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that there's going to be some people that's going to really make a lot of money on figuring out if everyone should get out of the turf business 100%. But yeah, like I said, before I jump off, going to plug the Patreon, man. Check out the Patreon, link in the description. want to build a community there with you guys, so I can give a lot more content and stuff like that. I'm also going to really start covering some more sports as well. So yeah, for now on, all of these shows regarding UTSA will be live. So yeah, make sure you guys come and comment away, and let's grow this thing. So thank you guys for being here. See you guys. Peace.